Welcome to the Green and Gold Game Day Show. Hello, KWTX. Guys, we are finally live. We are doing it. We are in the AC. We are playing SMU today. Green and Gold Game Day Show. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can stay updated on all the things. I am here today with Jackson Posey, sports writer for the Baylor Lariat. Jackson, thanks for coming today.
Absolutely. So glad to be here.
Yes. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you are tied into all the sports media stuff.
Yeah. So I'm the sports editor, podcasting director at the Baylor Lariat. Obviously make a lot of content there. Sometimes it's nonsense. Sometimes it's serious. Former China Spring High School football broadcaster. And I kind of run around. I do stuff, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. Just to go ahead and launch off hour one, we have our first fan vote. Andrew is going to pull up for us. Our first question or vote of the day is, how important is today's game against SMU for the trajectory of Baylor's season? Is it a must win, an important win, only kind of important, or little important? Jackson, what do you think? Go ahead and
I'm not putting this in must-win category.
Okay,
I think if Baylor's going to make a push for the college football playoff, which given the investment they've made in this roster, the quality of the offense so far this season, that's what you want to shoot for. And that's not going to come through just an at-large bid, right? That's going to have to come through a Big 12 championship game. This game doesn't affect that at all, right?
Yeah.
This is a good test against the best returning team that they've played from last season. But I look at this game as a prove-it ground. This kind of will set the tone for the rest of the season.
Definitely. And we'll get more into that today of giving our opinions, giving our thoughts, really breaking it down, and prepping you a little bit. I feel like it is an important win. I'm kind of in the same boat with you. In regards to Big 12, no, I think this is more of like a pride win. That would be really great to keep us in that national conversation. But let us know what you think. Make sure you are interacting with the poll. Andrew told me how it works. I don't know. I don't remember. But make sure you click on it, scan the QR code, do all the things, stay interactive with us. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay active and understand what's going on with us. We're going to go ahead and set the stage a little bit and recap the Auburn loss for us. Jackson, kick us off and give us your thoughts a little bit about that game. I also kind of thought it was a pride win for the Big 12, but
yeah, you hop into a game where you can't really build things up more than this, right? You run back the anthracite uniforms that people loved so much last year. You bring in the new gold helmets, which frankly, I think look better than the old gold helmets because they actually look a little more gold than silver.
Yeah.
And you have all this hype Friday night on Fox. And it feels like the team just kind of came out flat after that first scripted drive, particularly on defense. Once you lose Jackie Marshall, there was just nobody out there who could really stop the run. And Dave Aranda talked about it after the game. He talked about it on Monday in the press conference. This team knew that Auburn was going to run the ball, and there was just nothing that they could do about it. And look, SMU has a mobile quarterback in a little bit of a different way, but Auburn's run-first quarterback, that was the best receiving core that Baylor's going to play all season.
yeah.
And they did nothing. It wasn't because of the defensive backs. It was just because the defensive front couldn't stop anybody. And so moving forward, you look at this Auburn game, one, a little disappointing, as you mentioned, for the
Absolutely,
Big 12, right?
yeah.
I think you have maybe a redemption opportunity against SMU. But you also leave that game with one glaring weakness that every team is going to look at and say, we can just run the ball up your throat, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. Until they can prove people otherwise, that's what they're going to face week after week.
I agree. I think Jackson Arnold just kind of ran all over us. Like you said, to your point, having Jackie Marshall out made more of an impact than I think people realize. And I think that just speaks to who Jackie is as a player. And I'm very interested to see how they replace that this week and see who's going to fill in for him. But I was super impressed with Cole Wilson. You hear about him, he comes out of the portal, all the things. And I just being a former athlete, I'm like, okay, you're in a new school, new environment. What does that look like? There's a lot more than just playing football, coming to a new school. And I thought he killed it. I was super impressed. Thought him and Sawyer had a great connection. It's hard to hate on Baylor so much when Sawyer throws for over 400 yards. He looked, watching him, he didn't look great, but then you go look at the box scores and you're like, okay, well, he had a great game, was leading the country starting week 1 of college football. So how can you complain about that and really hate on Baylor? But for defensively, I completely agree. We needed to be able to produce more. So
Yeah, and in the overall game flow of it, right, you don't have to go for it on 4th down that many times
Yeah.
if you can get a couple stops. But
Yeah.
after the very beginning of the game, you're constantly playing on your heels, trying to get those marginal advantages, and it just wasn't working over and over and over again, multiple red zone stops. that could have been points, right? Could have been field goals when you're down 14 at the end of the game. How much does
Having the black uniform, all the hype. Were you out?
Yeah, I mean, I was like in the press box. It's like number one rule in sports show. There's no cheering. You open up with the potential for that. And I think it sets the stage well if you're able to, right the ship, recorrect the course, and get back on track. I think you've seen the audience build and grow now that Dave Aranda has sort of brought things back around.
I agree. I think having him control of the defense a little bit more this year makes Baylor Nation a little more comfortable and ready to see what he can do. I also think it was just nice to see the Baylor line there through the third quarter. I think a lot of times Baylor fans get a bad rap for wanting to leave early and whatnot. And, we have church the next morning. I think it was nice to see them stay throughout a game and get so excited.
They didn't let the line just spill out onto the end zone before they ran.
Yes.
And it looked so much better.
It looks so much better. No, I agree. No, it was a great game. Excited to see what they were able to do. This next game against SMU defensively, would love to see them produce more. But what did you think about the receiver connection and from that true freshman on the field as well?
Yeah, I looked at the receiving core, and it seemed like what this offense has been building towards for years, especially under Jake Spavital, where I'm the biggest Michael Trigg fan in the world.
Okay.
I think maybe he was force-fed a little too much in that game. But as you mentioned, Cole Wilson, he is what people were hoping Monterey Baldwin would be.
Yeah.
Right, where you have that explosiveness after the catch. You're able to sort of make people miss in the open field, in the middle of the field. You haven't had a weapon like that in years.
Yeah.
And being able to pair that with a broader receiving core where there's just so much talent out there on the field at all times. I don't know that any Big 12 teams are going to be able to slow down this team.
Yeah.
And now, can Baylor slow down anybody else? To be determined, right? But there might be some old school 2015 scores going on.
Yeah.
It's all right, it's 42-45.
Right.
Who gets the ball last? And that might determine a lot of these games.
And that's good. I would love to see more of Josh Cameron this next game. One, just a fan of Josh Cameron. Two, I get, I would have loved to see Michael Trigg a little bit more. We got him the ball a couple times, but we just love to see him a little more active in that first half. Same with Josh Cameron. I think I almost kind of forgot, because Cole Wilson was doing so well. Sawyer looked so great. And I was like, where is Josh Cameron? Then he finally got the ball and I was like, he's still there. So what did you think about that?
Yeah, I think you can get Josh Cameron more involved. Ultimately, it didn't matter too much. Right? I mean, this was about as good of an offensive performance as you could have expected against Auburn. Not all the points were there necessarily, but you have the success from Ashton Hawkins. You have the success from Cole Wilson, right? Those Texas State guys coming in. Kobe Prentice catches a touchdown pass on a sort of blown coverage late in the game. So you have guys attacking from all different angles. Lewis Brown from San Diego State and Colorado State caught a pass. So attacking from all angles. You've heard positive things about Jaden Porter, who's a second-year guy out of Lorena as well. And so there's a lot of talent being built up in that room. And then Michael Trigg at tight end, running backs as well. Caden Knight can catch the ball. So I'm not concerned about Josh Cameron.
Okay.
Still, top 3 returner in the league. And he's out there to catch the ball when you need him, which they haven't so far.
Yeah, true. Would love to see more of him this next game. Just wanted to go ahead and thank Hondo Hat Company. I don't know if you know, I talk about this brand a lot. Hondo Hat Company was started by Cole Posey, a former Baylor baseball player. He has lovingly started to sponsor my podcast, Steer Sports, but also Green and Gold Game Day show. We have one of his hats right here. He's got some sick stuff, so make sure you check out him. When we come back, we will hear from Matt Mosley, Matt Mosley's Mind. He is going to be calling in from Dallas area. And make sure you subscribe, like our YouTube channel to stay updated. Thank you to everyone on KWTX who is watching. We have a lot of good things coming in this next little bit. So when we come back, we will hear from Matt Mosley and Matt Mosley's Mind.
Falconberry Construction is now Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath. Check out gathercoremodeling.com Thanks so much for sponsoring Green and Gold Game Day.
At Hellberg, we've received accolades for our barbecue, but my real passion is in cultivating world-class culinary experiences that bring people together. We would love to cater your next event. You receive a fully personalized experience complete with a custom menu that's sure to impress your guests. And even though we're known for our barbecue, it goes way beyond that. We've done everything from box lunches to grilled oysters and whole roasted pigs. Basically, if you can dream it, we can do it. This is at the heart of what we do. This is Hellberg.
At Camp Info Waco, we believe fun is more fun outside. We also believe fun is more fun in the pool, by the water park, at your RV, in a cabin, and with the friends and family you love the most. So grab a drink, take a ride, and stay a while. We think you'll discover that fun is more fun outside, too.
I mean, yeah, a new coach comes in, they're going to churn the roster. I think that's just we've got all these transfer portal stats and what Dion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but, you know, he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
Look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
When Central National Bank decided to partner with Baylor women's basketball, we didn't know exactly what that partnership would look like.
What brings you into the bank today?
For the last couple of months, I've been noticing a charge on my account, and I would like to block it.
I see. So you have a charge.
Yes?
And you'd like to block it?
Yes.
I think you should take the charge.
What?
Yeah, I definitely think you should take the charge.
I don't think you understand.
Sometimes you just have to take one for the team.
Is there a manager available?
We love that Coach Collin is all about the team. Once we get the vocabulary down, the sky's the limit.
Central National Bank, proud partner of Baylor Athletics and Baylor women's basketball.
I have Mac Rhodes, director of Baylor Athletics, on the phone. Mac, can you tell Peggy why she should take the charge?
Of course she should take the charge. Wait, are you at the bank again? And who is Peggy?
I'm Cole Posey, and I'm a third-generation Baylor Bear. During my time playing baseball at Baylor, I started a hat company called Hondo, which started as meek and humble beginnings, has quickly grown into something more. Over 40,000 hats sold, and then over 100 retail locations nationwide. I love vintage Western hats, but couldn't stand the condition they came in, so I decided to make my own. Vintage style, but with modern aesthetics. Thank you so much for making my dream come true and for enabling what was once a dream to become a reality. God bless.
Back to Green and Gold Game Day. Matt Mosley here with Scotty Swingler as we get you ready for kickoff, the Bears and the Mustangs. It is now time for something we call Mosley's Mind. And this is a time when I share with you some of the things as we get closer to the game, things that are in my head and things that I think about with Baylor and SMU. It also is a time I might go into Father Time stories, looking back at what I think has been an extremely fun rivalry over the years. I will say SMU old-timers, which is to say really anybody over the age of like 50, 55 or something like that. I think they are desperately ready for a win, and that hasn't happened in a long, long time, 39 years, Scotty tells me, and they are ready for that to come to an end today. And I wanted to go story time a little bit as we do Mosley's Mind, and, you know, Faith, Scotty has put together something we're going to share with you later in the season about J.J. Joe, and I think about him a lot right now, especially the start of the football season, and we would usually be hearing him. And though our man Nick Florence is doing a really nice job filling in, it's just with heavy hearts. And I think about JJ a lot. And this SMU Baylor rivalry makes me think about him even more. And part of that was because of Baylor's success, and we said it goes all the way back to '86. But when JJ got involved, his redshirt freshman year was when he really ignited a Baylor offense, and it really ignited the program. And that would have been right around 1990. And one of those years, while JJ in 91 was his best season, and that was when he was throwing deep to Melvin Bonner, and they were just annihilating teams, including SMU. One of those years in there, they go to SMU, circa 92, Scotty, and JJ's hurt. And they try not to obviously people know. They knew he'd been banged up the week before, and it may have even happened in practice, but JJ could barely lift his shoulder to throw, and yet he was so important to the team, they went ahead and sent him out to play against SMU anyway. Now, part of this is because Baylor was so much better than SMU, and they had so much better personnel, and Baylor did something that basically, I don't know, had ever been done in college football in many, many, many years. They never threw a forward pass. That's right, about 70 to 75 snaps that day on offense. They were every one of them handoffs. And late in the game that day, Lamont Moore would have been playing backup. He came from Waxahachie. He was one of the great high school quarterbacks ever. They won a state championship with Lamont circa 90, about 1990 at Waxahachie. But one of the offensive coordinators, your Chuck Reedy would have been over there. Grant Taft would have been over there. I think Grant, because I have to think if this was 90. If it's after post-93 season, of course, Grant's final season was the 92 season. So anyway, Chuck Reedy was the offensive coordinator for a long time. And a play came in late in that game, even though Baylor was winning big time, to throw the ball. They wanted Lamont to throw the ball. He'd come in for JJ. And Chuck Reedy got on the headset and said, no, you're going to ruin our perfect game. He did not want to throw a pass because no pass had been thrown. It was the dominance of Baylor. It was post-death penalty SMU, and it was taking them down at their place. Scotty, I can't help but think back on some of those great memories and some of the great Baylor games, and I went to when I was a kid, or over at Texas Stadium, and the Pony Express, and Baylor and SMU were both really good. Late 70s, SMU had Ron Meyer, Baylor had Grant Taft, and they had Mike Ford as a quarterback. Then they had Lance McElhaney, and of course they had Craig James, who was on the Pete Souza show earlier this week, and they had Eric Dickerson. It was those were Baylor had right around that time. Baylor had Mike Singletary. They had Andrew Mellentry. They had Tommy Tabor. They had Charles Benson. They had Van McElroy. The list goes on. The players for both teams. SMU had Michael Carter, who ended up being an Olympic shot putter, and I think he threw the discus as well. But he was unbelievable playing nose tackle. But it was just great teams. And then one of those years, right around the kind of later in Grant's career, toward the end, Baylor went to play at Ownby Stadium. This is after they had gone back on campus, SMU, to play. And Baylor was winning, let's call it 38-7. This was, I believe, a different game than the one they threw the whole time. So let's call this post-death penalty. Let's call this either 90 or 91. And they're up at SMU, and Grant took some heat for this. In fact, I think SMU still had Forrest Gregg, the very famous former Cincinnati Bengals player who became and was the coach of the Green Bay Packers, or was he coach of Cincinnati? Anyway, Forrest Gregg, I think, played for Green Bay. But Forrest Gregg was very, very famous. He'd become the head coach at SMU, and Baylor had a big lead, and they had to punt, and Baylor fake punted them and ended up completing it and winning that game 45-7. And obviously the SMU coaching staff and everybody was embarrassed. They were mad. I still don't know. I think I've asked Coach Taft about that before, and he may have, with a little twinkle in his eye, suggested that somebody did that on their own. Whether or not he did that and had some memory of the SMU series in the back of his mind and called that, we may never know. But some of those great moments, SMU and Baylor history. Scotty Swingler is with me as we get you ready for kickoff. And Scotty, I just, for those of us who watched all those games, and then you remember when Baylor opened McLean Stadium with these SMU Mustangs. It's been so fun over the years to just be right down the road from them, to kind of have that rivalry hanging there, even though it would become dormant at times. I got to say, I have this thought recently with SMU having immediate success in the ACC, having desperately wanted to be in the Big 12, and the Big 12 said, no thanks. We need the Houston market. We're going to go ahead and take the Cougars. Thank you for applying. We would have I wonder now, knowing what SMU's commitment was to the ACC and the huge money, and the fact that they said, hey, we're not going to need any money back. We're going to pay our way into this conference. I wonder to myself if the Big 12 erred in not taking SMU. And what we'll never know is if SMU would have been this good this quickly in the Big 12. Because, Big 12's good. Let's not act, they're great in basketball, but let's not act like they're like the most dominant force yet in football. I think it's an interesting discussion as we get ready for this game. Do you think that now that we know what we know, and I know it's hard to say that because we didn't know that back then, but watching their commitment, especially the financial commitment that they've made, do you think the Big 12 erred in taking Houston instead of SMU?
I don't know that we can know that. It seems funny to make that a hypothetical, especially when, you could have theoretically taken both of them. There's no rules to this that put a cap on how many teams you can have in your conference, right? So for the Houston television market, you might have gained through bringing in U of H, certainly through the basketball prestige that you've gained by bringing in U of H. I believe they've now made 2 Final Fours since joining the Big 12, right? SMU, the financial piece of it, but now the football piece of it, Matt, is remarkable. The story of the season, especially in Texas last year, who would have thought, Matt, that out of all of these teams in Texas, outside of the Big Two, let's take A&M and UT out of it for a second, who would have thought that outside of those two, the first team to make a college football expanded playoff would be SMU. I know TCU made the 4-team playoff, but for SMU to make that dance last year, Baylor didn't, TCU didn't, Texas Tech didn't, Texas A&M didn't. Really remarkable for their program. I think they found the right guy with Coach Lashley. But to answer your question, we talked to Craig James, as you said, on the Pete Souza show, and Pete asked him about this. How does this kind of raise the stakes that SMU is actually part of the ACC, and the ACC and the Big 12 sort of find themselves in this battle for, I hate saying it like this, but like third place in terms of conference prestige or superiority. And this is a big deal. It's a big deal. I almost wonder if it's more intense for Baylor and SMU to play under these circumstances than it would be if they were both in the Big 12. And to answer one of your questions, I have no idea if SMU has the success they had last season, if they had to go through the Big 12 schedule last year. It was such a crapshoot. But certainly adds an element of intrigue to this game today that these two teams are not only representing Dallas and Waco, old Southwest Conference rivalry, but now ACC versus Big 12.
Well, I think we now have enough evidence to suggest that it was if it were an either or, and I don't know, because you were talking about the different markets in Texas and the Dallas market, and the thought is you have TCU and you have huge Baylor presence in the Dallas market. In some ways, you already had the Dallas market. I get that, but I never accept the thought like Houston is an A&M and Texas market. U of H is there, but it's compared to those other two I mentioned, it barely makes a ripple. So given the commitment that SMU made, what I wonder is when they were applying, did that stuff get mentioned to, because, see, some of this predates Yormark. What would be interesting to know is, like, if Yormark, as they were expanding, heard, hey, here's the thing. We don't need any money back. We don't need any, wherever the conference gets, we're willing to pour millions upon millions. So it's an interesting point you make. Could you have had Houston and SMU and maybe don't do Cincinnati? Maybe don't do UCF. Maybe
you don't have to put it. You don't have to put a cap on it. Like, it feels like the Big 12's always wanted to stay at an even number, 12, 14, or 16, 10. But you don't even have to have a cap on it anymore. Like, the rules don't apply to conferences anymore, right? But the other thing I would say, Matt, don't undervalue what, and I don't want to get too far away from Baylor SMU here, but what Houston brings to the Big 12 in terms of basketball. Like, it's a huge deal. If the Big 12 is not going to be the best if the Big 12 is not going to be the best football conference in America, they certainly can be, and I think most of the time in the last 5 years have been the best basketball conference in America. And depending on their expansion strategy going forward, could even broaden that reach. And so Houston's not a bad add to the conference. I just think maybe you messed up by not adding both.
Yeah, maybe so. I would say if you were comparing the two, give me a making the college football playoff over how great a basketball program Houston has is what I would where I would leave that. Much more to come from all of us. It is time for Faith in the Field. Boy, this is going to be fun. Faith takes a walk down the old SWC memory lane. That is next.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to Dear Sports. I am so pumped to be back in the podcast world and filming season 2 of Dear Sports. On this podcast, you're going to find stories from former and current athletes about their journey through sports and the impact it has made in their life. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow our Instagram and Twitter to stay updated on all things Dear Sports.
At Hellberg, we've received accolades for our barbecue, but my real passion is in cultivating world-class culinary experiences that bring people together. We would love to cater your next event. You receive a fully personalized experience complete with a custom menu that's sure to impress your guests. And even though we're known for our barbecue, it goes way beyond that. We've done everything from box lunches to grilled oysters and whole roasted pigs. Basically, if you can dream it, we can do it. This is at the heart of what we do. This is Hellberg.
365 Sports Green and Gold Game Day is made possible in part by Ascension Providence here in Waco.
At Camp Info Waco, we believe fun is more fun outside. We also believe fun is more fun in the pool, by the water park, at your RV, in a cabin, and with the friends and family you love the most. So grab a drink, take a ride, and stay a while. We think you'll discover that fun is more fun outside, too.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast, coming to you from the Star in the players' meeting room with defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus.
You now have two responsibilities this year that you didn't have last year, and that's being a first-time head coach and calling plays for Dak Prescott for the first time. But now we're doing something that we do annually. We get Stephen Jones's perspective on this football team and how it was built and what expectations should be.
Welcome to Sports World Game Day Show. Thank you to everyone watching on KWTX. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Green and Gold YouTube channel to stay updated on everything Green and Gold game day. Thank you to Central National Bank for leading independent bank for sponsoring Matt Mosley's appearance on the Green and Gold game day show. We now are going to get into the Faith on the Field segment of this. I have a little bit of a weird tie to the Southwest Conference. I was not alive during the Southwest Conference, but my entire family was. So my dad played golf at Baylor and played in the last year of the Southwest Conference, which was kind of cool. Played in the last year of the Southwest Conference and then the first inaugural Big 12 year, which is kind of cool. And obviously with all of the conference realignment going on, there was a chance that maybe I was going to play in the last year of the OG Big 12, which I guess in some way I did. But I just really feel like there's a lot of rivalry games that have not been able to be protected through the realignment and all the things. So this is kind of nice to be able to see SMU and Baylor relaunching that rivalry that used to happen. Just to give you a little bit of history of SMU and Baylor, Baylor and SMU were both in the Southwest Conference. 1914 to 1996, the conference dissolved in 1996, and Baylor entered the Big 12. SMU left for the WAC. Baylor dominated most of the meetings between Baylor and SMU in their last conference meeting in 1996, beating SMU 21-14. SMU was a part of the WAC all the way up until 2004, then joined Conference USA in 2012. This was the first time they won a bowl game in 25 years in the Hawaii Bowl, which is pretty crazy. 2013 to 2023, SMU joins the AAC, the American Athletic Conference. And then finally in 2023, SMU has joined the ACC alongside Stanford and Cal. And they make it to the college football playoffs and make it a historic season joining the ACC. I say all that just to give you some background of the landscape of college football just looks different now. I was recruited to play volleyball and had a dream of playing in this OG Big 12 rah conference. And then it really just kind of changed into TV contract, NIL, rev share, all the things. This put SMU in the Power 4 conversation over the Group 5 conversation, being able to join the ACC. Don't get me wrong. I feel like SMU could have made it to the college football playoffs, maybe doing so well in the AAC, but we don't know the answer to those questions just because their wins in their conference games became a lot more valuable being held into that conversation. On the flip side of all of this, that's all the SMU history. Baylor being in the Big 12 and then losing to massive opponents, Texas and OU. Don't get me wrong, don't really want them in the Big 12 anyways, not a big fan, but they do bring a big viewership, bring a lot of eyes to college football and to Baylor and to Big 12, bringing in that rev share, bringing in all the things. Both of these schools were a Southwest Conference rivalry for nearly 80 years. I think it's really cool being able to see that come back to life. There's conversation of protecting these rivalries. And so it's nice to see Baylor kind of doing justice for this game. I think a lot of Baylor fans are just excited to relive their glory days, be back in this setting of SMU and Baylor competing. Last weekend, there was a lot of talk of Baylor beating Auburn, an SEC matchup, of how that can bring a lot of, not resurrection, but just a lot of excitement back to the Big 12 of, hey, we can hang in the SEC, we can do that. I think, again, that's kind of SMU's case and also Baylor's case of, okay, competing in these big Power 4 conferences. Baylor winning this game against SMU brings a lot of that excitement back of, hey, we can be in that national conversation. Same with SMU of, hey, we've been in the ACC for a year now, did a lot of damage. We can continue to do that because the ACC is not a football heavy conference, if you can say. There's about 3 schools in there that you're going to compete and see in that national conversation as well. So all to say, I'd love to get Jackson's thoughts and Jackson's opinions on that. I know it's a lot of history, but that was my Faith on the Field piece for this week.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great time back in the day, right? You have these regional rivalries. You drive up and down I-35 and everywhere you go, you're seeing somebody wearing the other team's colors.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We are going to go to break. When we come back, we will have some behind the enemy lines. And thank you to KWTX and everyone watching. Thank you for the Green and Gold Game Day show of producing it, making all the things happen. Excited for what's next to come behind enemy lines. Jackson and I will get more into the details of SMU strategies, Baylor strategy, all the things. Thank you again to Central National Bank for being a sponsor for our show. Hello, guys. Welcome back to Dear Sports. I am so pumped to be back in the podcast world and filming season 2 of Dear Sports. On this podcast, you're going to find stories from former and current athletes about their journey through sports and the impact it has made in their life. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow our Instagram and Twitter to stay updated on all things Dear Sports.
At Hellberg, we've received accolades for our barbecue, but my real passion is in cultivating world-class culinary experiences that bring people together. We would love to cater your next event. You receive a fully personalized experience complete with a custom menu that's sure to impress your guests. And even though we're known for our barbecue, it goes way beyond that. We've done everything from box lunches to grilled oysters and whole roasted pigs. Basically, if you can dream it, we can do it. This is at the heart of what we do. This is Hellberg.
365 Sports Green and Gold Game Day is made possible in part by Ascension Providence here in Waco.
At Camp Info Waco, we believe fun is more fun outside. We also believe fun is more fun in the pool, by the water park, at your RV, in a cabin, and with the friends and family you love the most. So grab a drink, take a ride, and stay a while. We think you'll discover that fun is more fun outside, too.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast, coming to you from the Star in the players' meeting room with defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus.
You now have two responsibilities this year that you didn't have last year, and that's being a first-time head coach and calling plays for Dak Prescott for the first time. But now we're doing something that we do annually. We get Stephen Jones's perspective on this football team and how it was built and what expectations should be.
Falconberry Construction is now Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath. Check out gathercoremodeling.com. Thanks so much for sponsoring Green.
Welcome back into Green and Gold Game Day. Thank you to Camp Fimfo for supporting the show. What a place to stay at. You know, if you're coming up in town for the Sanford game or something, there's cabins, there's like a river, there's all sorts of stuff to do. So check out Camp Fimfo.
Perfect. We are now going to get into our behind the enemy lines, preview SMU a little bit and recap their 2024 season, playoff experience, strengths, all the things. They played East Texas A&M last weekend. What did you think of that game?
Man, 2 pick sixes for the Mustangs in that game, but not a lot of anything in the running game. You had 3 different guys get fewer than 10 carries. None of them hit 45 yards. I'm not sure how consistently they're going to be able to move the ball on the ground in the long term. Against Baylor, I think that's going to be part of the strategy.
Absolutely. I think in those types of games, it's kind of hard to see what all they have in store for this season. East Texas A&M, great opponent, but playing a Power 4 team, I think you're going to see a lot more of what SMU is actually going to do this year and get more into that. I love that Baylor gets to play a college football playoff team so early. I think that's just huge. I think it provides a lot of experience for them. Really love that coaching staff at SMU. I think they've done a lot for that program of being able to kind of buy in. Both Baylor and SMU come from scandals, which I think is interesting. Love that for our Christian schools. But them having the same type of culture, trying to rebuild this and drive more of a winning national ranked program. I'm excited to see SMU do that again this year in 2025.
Yeah, and they've got a ton of talent and returning experience on the offensive line. That's what you look for, right? Is how consistently can those hog mollies up front be pushing back the other team? And those 5 guys out there have an average of 4.5 years of experience, 4.4 years of experience per guy. You just don't see that, especially at levels below maybe SEC Big Ten. And so having a unit that's bringing back multiple all ACC contributors, you got the quarterback behind him, you got a really good wide receiver in Romello Brinson out there. Could be another really exciting season in Dallas.
I agree. I think you have to put the glasses on. They're sitting there. They're looking at me. I wanted just to give a little shout out to our guy, Matt Mosley. I think this is awesome that Jackson brought this in today.
Just appreciate Matt. It's good at what he does.
Missing him here in the studio today. We'll see more of him later in Dallas when he gives us a bit of a live report. He's going to be checking in. But we are coming close to, we're going to hear from Craig James, who's on the Pete Souza show today, or this past week. Was able to get some great insight. He played for SMU, so in that OG era of Southwest Conference. So I think it's sweet to see both SMU and Baylor really rooting for the Southwest Conference revival game. But more about SMU, just their game against last week. What do you feel like they're going to have to change to play against Baylor offensively?
Yeah, I mean, I look at SMU, and Dave Aranda talked about this at his press conference on Monday, but he said that Kevin Jennings, the SMU quarterback, reminds him a lot of Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Right? Because he kind of skirts out there on the outside. He's mobile, but he's not really running to run. He's running to throw. And so he'll skirt out of the pocket, get out there, and get maybe like a 2-on-1 where there's one defender in the middle. You got a tight end or a running back right behind him. And Jennings will just like bolt at the line of scrimmage to force the guy to come down. And they'll just little dink pass over the top, hit the guy, and then he's got space, right? And so SMU can really lean into that given how much Baylor's going to have to sell to stop the run on the inside.
Yeah.
But you have to establish that early. And so I would imagine that Rhett Lashley is going to go pretty frequently to one of those 3 running backs. He's got 3 different guys, hasn't really picked one yet. But you've got Chris Johnson Jr., no relation to CJ2K, but really fast guy, like Florida State champion track athlete in high school.
Yeah.
Then you also have TJ Harden, who's more of like a sort of combo receiving back, like Rex Burkhead vibes maybe, who's coming from UCLA, was their leading rusher last year. And you got Derek McFall, who actual SMU guy, started his career there. He's got a lot of talent as well.
Awesome. I think those are great takeaways. Up next, we are going to show our pre-recorded segment about Craig James with the Pete Souza show. Excited to see what he has to say. And then Jackson and I will give our feedback.
For last year's success, I think it was the knock on the door unexpectedly by SMU to get into the playoffs. And we won the games we should have won. It was a weaker conference last year. We had 3 bye weeks. The stars lined up. We had a great defense, especially the defensive line, 2 deep defensive line that made everybody really good. We stumbled into having a great running back in Brashard Smith, ran for over 1,000 yards. Rhett Lashley knows how to put the puzzle together, and he did that last year. Now, like all these other schools, you've got 40, 50, in Belichick's case, 70 new players who walk into a locker room. This team has star players. Other teams have star players, but this remains a team sport. Pete, the same sport that you and I covered 20, 30, 40 years ago is the sport today. You have to run, you have to tackle, you have to block. And if you can't do those things and do them together, you will not win. So I think the jury is still out for us. We played a team that we were supposed to beat by 30 or 40 points. Baylor played a team that was 50-50. And played right there with them. And Auburn's a good football team. I think Baylor knows more about their team today than SMU knows about their team. And at the end of the year, last year, with SMU getting that bid over Alabama, we won't get the nod this year. I mean, that selection committee will grade us much tougher than they did last season. So I think these kind of games, beyond just the natural Baylor and SMU vibe, there really is the conference deal that takes place. And losing to Auburn on the record at the end of the season won't be as big a blemish as you would think. Can SMU take advantage of the things that Auburn was able to do against Baylor? Can SMU do that? I think SMU's offensive line last season was a complete unknown. They had 5 good players, but they didn't know the slots to put them in. This year, entering the season, they had 4 of the 5 identified. They had the 5 players identified. So I think they're trying to start from a better position there. We're still a running back by committee. We don't know who our guy is. We had 3 guys that carried the ball roughly 9 times each, and they looked okay. But in my mind, when you're playing against Baylor, unless you're Barry Sanders, and we don't have Barry Sanders, you got to run past tacklers. Brashard Smith last year ran past the tackler. He made the offensive line look good until the offensive line got confidence and became good. So I look at Baylor. Baylor's a talented team. They're a physical team, and I think they got punched in the mouth a little bit. And I think it's up to Aranda to coach him up, and for the players to respond and try to stop the run and do what they need to do.
Yeah, I think what Craig has to say of them being looked at a little bit more in the playoff committee this year, I think holds true to how SMU will do this season, and then also just depth-wise of what they've carried over.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy who comes in with real pedigree, right? Yeah. Where him and Eric Dickerson were that Pony Express back in the day, leading the charge. And SMU's trying to get back to that point. They just won 11 games back-to-back seasons for the first time ever. And it's got to be cool for him to watch as his old program reaches new heights.
Absolutely. I mean, what a better proud alumni, a moment for him of being able to watch your alma mater go out there and compete. When we come back, we will be talking about the Big 12 wraparound featuring Pete Souza, my guy. I can't wait for y'all to hear what he has to say. Just wanted to thank our partner, Ascension Providence Hospitals, for their support of the Green and Gold Game Day Show. Encouraging people to make Providence their home for orthopedics, urgent care, sport medicine. I know now being post-grad, I don't have team doctors anymore, which is crazy. So I'm now having to go find doctors myself, make sure I'm healthy. Flu season, I'm sure, is coming up. I think strep is going around. So making them my home for everything, urgent care, orthopedics, sport medicine is great. When we come back, you will be hearing from Pete Souza and the Big 12 wraparound.
This is Matt Mosley, Scotty Swingler back, Green and Gold Game Day. It's Bear Essentials, and we are joined now by Baylor legend, the great running back, Terrence Ganaway.
365 Sports Green and Gold Game Day is made possible in part by Ascension Providence here in Waco.
At Camp Info Waco, we believe fun is more fun outside. We also believe fun is more fun in the pool, by the water park, at your RV, in a cabin, and with the friends and family you love the most. So grab a drink, take a ride, and stay a while. We think you'll discover that fun is more fun outside, too.
I'm Cole Posey, and I'm a third-generation Baylor Bear. During my time playing baseball at Baylor, I started a hat company called Hondo, which started as meek and humble beginnings, has quickly grown into something more. Over 40,000 hats sold, and then over 100 retail locations nationwide. I love vintage Western hats, but couldn't stand the condition they came in, so I decided to make my own. Vintage style, but with modern aesthetics. Thank you so much for making my dream come true, and for enabling what was once a dream to become a reality. God bless.
I mean, yeah, a new coach comes in, they're going to turn the roster. I think that's just we've got all these transfer portal stats and what Dion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
Look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
Welcome back to the 365 Sports Green and Gold Game Day Show. We are about to hear from Pete Souza and his Big 12 wraparound of matchups he's excited about in the Big 12 this week.
Talk Big 12 college football matchups, and we have a great slate. Had the opportunity on Inside the 12 which is the show obviously we do with Taylor McHarg every week. Taylor, the signal caller, handles all the film breakdown, and I just try to get us from point A to point B cleanly and safely. The first part happens way more often than the second part, right? Me getting us to where we need to go. But Taylor and I were lucky enough to talk to Commissioner Brett Yormark earlier this year in our first show, kicking off Inside the 12. And Commissioner Yormark said, in order for the Big 12 to increase its number of college football playoff invitations, they're going to have to win the big non-conference games. And there are 5 opportunities for the conference this weekend against Power. There's actually 6 Power 5 games, or Power 4 games rather, that the Big 12 is playing in this weekend, but we're going to talk about 5 of them. And in those 5 marquee games, the Big 12 is actually favored in 3 of them. I want to talk first about number 16 Iowa State at home against Iowa. Big noon kickoff will be there for this one. Going to be a monster of a game. It's an opportunity once again for Rocco Becht to show that he's able to play in these big time environments and make big plays when his back is up against the wall. He's been showing the ability to do that all season long. Over the course of just 2 games, he has been cool, calm, and collective, and also has had a share of explosive plays, a 64-yarder last week in their big win, a huge win against an FCS opponent. I really like Iowa State, what they're doing right now. They only beat Iowa by a field goal last year. They're favored in this game by almost a touchdown. We'll see what happens, but big noon kickoff being there makes it very excited. Let's go up the road, right? I-35. We travel to Dallas. Baylor and SMU. In that old Southwest Conference rivalry renewed, we had an opportunity to talk on the Pete Souza Show earlier this week with Craig James, former member of the Pony Express with Eric Dickerson. I asked Craig, hey, what were some of those games like? Those Baylor SMU games in the 80s. He just said it was tough, it was gritty, and you always knew Baylor was going to hit you with the haymaker. He also mentioned they could hear Mike Singletary hyperventilating in their huddle. The SMU players could, and that was quite the frightening experience. Different experience altogether coming up on Saturday. SMU right now has the edge, about a 3-point favorite, or a field goal favorite, I should say, coming into this one. I like Baylor and their opportunity against SMU for one huge reason. Baylor played against an SEC opponent last weekend. Baylor knows who they are. After playing an opponent like that, you have the tape. You know what you do well, what you do poorly at this phase in the season. SMU, obviously, they took care of business last weekend, but not against the Power 4 opponent, certainly not against an SEC opponent. So there's probably more question marks around SMU and how they feel about their team or what they know about their team as opposed to Baylor. I really like Dave Aranda making some adjustments heading into that game. I'm not here to pick games, but I do think that Baylor you lose to that Auburn team last week, not quite as bad as it may have seemed in that moment for Baylor fans. Huge rivalry, Kansas and Missouri. That game will be played at Mizzou. I can't even imagine a bigger atmosphere for a game this early in the season. That rivalry, if you know anything about Missouri and Kansas dating back to decades ago, it is a huge one. So the fact that they get to play this again this year, looking at what the odds makers think about this one, I think Kansas could deserve or use a little more respect. They're an underdog by about a touchdown in that game. I really like what Lance Leipold did against Fresno State. Keep your eye on Kansas this weekend. And, of course, Arizona State going to Mississippi State. My favorite part about that game was Kenny Dillingham already talking about the fact that they had to stay about an hour outside of Starkville because he does not want his guys staying in a casino. Arizona State, this is considered a possible trap game. It certainly will be a tough game. I can't imagine they won't be ready to go gangbusters. Last week, getting a chance to watch Sam Levitt just completely run wild. Looking forward to see what he can do throwing the football this weekend. Should be a great game for Arizona State. And finally, the games that we're looking at, BYU hosts Stanford. Now, BYU's quarterback, Bear Bachmeier, literally transferred from Stanford in February or March. Was not a part of spring ball. Doesn't seem like that's had much impact. He was lights out in his first game against Portland State, threw 5 touchdowns. His brother, Tiger Bachmeier, was also a Stanford Cardinal. He is also now a member of BYU's team. So a lot to like in that game for BYU, not just the chip on the shoulder from the 2 Bachmeiers, but overall their defense, special teams, all 3 phases of the game looked very good last week against Portland State. I look for him to keep it going against the Kansas team, who really has just been searching for answers so far in this young season. I'll send it back, but for now, for Big 12 Studios, for the Green and Gold pregame show, it's Pete Souza. Let's rock and roll.
365 Sports Green and Gold Game Day Show. Welcome back, Jackson Posey, Faith Lynch. Jackson, what matchup are you most excited about this week in the Big 12?
I mean, to me, it's got to be Cy-Hawk,
Yeah,
right? Looking at
yeah.
Iowa, going to Iowa State. Mark Gronowski, the new Iowa quarterback, really struggled in week 1 against an FCS team. He's popping up from the FCS, but he's got potential, and I wonder if he bounces back in a tough rivalry game where you see Iowa State trying to stay on the right track.
Absolutely. We are now going to take a look at these polls. Oh, goodness. Okay. Season-defining game. Wow. Do you agree with that?
I would not call this a season-defining game. I mean, this is the type of team you want to play at the level of,
Yeah.
though, right? I mean, if you walk into Gerald J. Ford Stadium today and you get the brakes blown off you, I think that is season-defining. That's not something you can really bounce back from if you aren't on the same level talent-wise as SMU.
Fair.
Because I think that's where Baylor sees itself right now, is in that SMU class of like probably ranked in the teens, dangerous offense, building the defense to something. But if it's close, I don't know that it defines the season.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think it's going to be a blowout game. If it is, we have bigger issues that we need to solve with Coach Aranda and the entire Baylor staff. But
I do like the emojis though.
Yeah,
I'm really enjoying the guy who's like laughing with the little, like, is that a bead of sweat up there coming down?
He's stressed
Yeah.
for the long season ahead. Moderate, still early. I don't know. I mean, how important today's game? Baylor SMU, moderate, still early. Sure. If you want to do well in Big 12 play, I think we've been saying it all show. Yeah, if you want to win this game, it keeps you in that national conversation. Moderate, still early. Sure, I can agree, but I'm still in my vote. Big, but not do or die.
Yeah, and it depends on what you're shooting at, right? Because there's so many winnable teams, especially late on the schedule within the Big 12. You've got Houston, Arizona, UCF, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State. I mean, that should be 5 wins. You got Samford as well, right? So I don't know this impacts your race for a bowl game necessarily, but it does impact, okay, what's the high-end outcome that we're shooting for? If you don't look like you're competitive here, that could set a rough tone moving forward.
I agree. Baylor's schedule kind of de-escalates as you go through, which is nice, I think, from a training standpoint and just from like a security standpoint of wanting to get to the Big 12 championship game, wanting to make a bowl game. Like, you have all your, I just as a former athlete, I would love to have, like, you have a hot start, you've been training all summer, you're ready to go, playing these big games, and then you kind of start to see how these other teams pan out. And maybe one of those last matchups becomes a bigger game just because of the stakes where you're at in the season, making a bowl game. But yeah, minimal, long season ahead. I'm stressed for y'all if you really think that's what's happening today. Okay, when we come back, just want to thank KWTX, everyone watching. Thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, all the things. Comment, maybe Jackson and I will start to interact with that on our YouTube channel, Green and Gold Game Day Show. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. When we come back, we will talk more about SMU and Baylor, a storied history, and launch our second hour of the fan vote.
At Hellberg, we've received accolades for our barbecue, but my real passion is in cultivating world-class culinary experiences that bring people together. We would love to cater your next event. You receive a fully personalized experience complete with a custom menu that's sure to impress your guests. And even though we're known for our barbecue, it goes way beyond that. We've done everything from boxed lunches to grilled oysters and whole roasted pigs. Basically, if you can dream it, we can do it. This is at the heart of what we do. This is Hellberg.
At Camp Info Waco, we believe fun is more fun outside. We also believe fun is more fun in the pool, by the water park, at your RV, in a cabin, and with the friends and family you love the most. So grab a drink, take a ride, and stay a while. We think you'll discover that fun is more fun outside, too.
I mean, yeah, a new coach comes in, they're going to turn the roster. I think that's just we've got all these transfer portal stats and what Dion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
Look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
When Central National Bank decided to partner with Baylor women's basketball, we didn't know exactly what that partnership would look like.
What brings you into the bank today?
For the last couple of months, I've been noticing a charge on my account, and I would like to block it.
I see. So you have a charge?
Yes.
And you'd like to block it?
Yes.
I think you should take the charge.
Partner.
365 Sports Green and Gold Game Day Show. I'm Faith Lynch. I'm here with Jackson Posey. We are going to launch Fan Vote Hour 2. What do you expect in today's game against SMU? Baylor wins close. SMU wins close. Baylor blows out SMU. SMU blows out Baylor. Jackson?
I think, to me, the one that I would rule out is I don't see SMU blowing out Baylor.
Okay, good.
Right? I think just given the type of offense that Baylor has and the number of defensive contributors that SMU loses, particularly in the front seven, it would be tough for me to imagine a world in which they just completely stop the Spavital offense.
Yeah.
I could see any of the other three things happening for various reasons, but I don't see Baylor coming out flat offensively.
Okay, good. That makes my heart happy. I think a lot of Baylor fans less stressed. I think Baylor wins close. I don't think it's going to be a SMU wins close. Love our Baylor Bears, but just let's be so real. We'd love to see a little bit more production. We were just kind of talking offset a little bit, but I think these first four games really define what Baylor can do postseason. If you don't do well in these first four games, you're out of that national conversation. Baylor needs to be a ranked opponent to still hold up their end of the deal with all of this stuff. They haven't beat someone since 21, a ranked opponent. So I would love to see them be able to do that this weekend. But just to get a little bit more of a history lesson, Jackson is going to take us through a storied history, SMU versus Baylor. I've looked at it a little bit. I think everyone's really going to enjoy this. So Jackson, start rolling with it.
Yes, this is the return to something that has not happened in a while. So let's take it back to 1916. This is 1 year after SMU was founded as a university. They walk out there and they absolutely get their doors blown off in Waco, 61-0. They lose that first matchup against the Bears. Back before, the average person maybe knew who football was. And the next season, Baylor goes up to Dallas. The script flips. 0-0 tie, which is, not the most thrilling way that you could start out a rivalry, right? But, man, consistently throughout this, you have these two teams not scoring, not being competitive. In the first 9 matchups, there were 4 ties, and 7 of the first 8 games, at least one of the teams scored 0 points. That includes 2 0-0 ties, by the way. So if you think that football today has gone off the rails, take it back a little over 100 years. Things were real rough back then. Baylor leads the all-time series 39-36-7. Honestly, I'd be kind of okay with an 8 today. I feel like if we could, create a new innovation in modern college football at a tie, it'd be a fun bit. A win would be nicer. But man, this is the longest that these two teams have gone without playing each other since they started playing in 1916. They have their first little gap during World War II for understandable reasons, and a couple others throughout. But since the death penalty back in the 80s, these teams have played 13 times. Baylor's won all 13. Hasn't really been close in most of them. But what I want to do is kick it back to 1974. 1974, Baylor is coming off of a fantastic run, right? They've got a whole decade in which they've only won 29 games in the decade. They're averaging less than 3 wins a year for 10 years, including Grant Tapp's first year, including a guy named Bill Beal, who was there 3 years and went 3-28. I mean, people talk about Baylor was bad in the 2000s.
It was
3-28 in a 3-year span is brutal. And I mean, Kevin Steele above that, certainly. Yeah. Anyway, this team breaks out under Grant Taff in year 2. And all of a sudden, there's a lot of energy, right? They lose the first 2 games. maybe sounds a little familiar, but they lose the first 2 games and then they go on a crazy run, winning 6 out of 7 with 3 ranked wins going into SMU. So that SMU game really sets everything high, right? Because Baylor's tied with Texas A&M atop the Southwest Conference. There's no conference championship game.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's just whoever's at the top. Texas A&M was the one conference loss Baylor had. And so they go into, this SMU game hoping to secure at least a share of the Big 12 championship for the first time since, I believe, 1924. But more importantly, they're keeping their hopes alive of going to the first Cotton Bowl in program history. Well, they hop into this game against SMU, who had just beaten Texas A&M. That's the only reason they were tied atop the conference. And they walk in to led by a running back named Steve Baird. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right. This game was before my parents were born. But
before we were even thought of.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So Steve Baird goes into this game, has himself a game. The AP recap calls him Stubby Steve Baird in the first sentence of the recap, which, he was 5'7", 196. So
perfect.
I do see the vision. But he goes in there. He scored a school record number of rushing touchdowns that season. It was 15 and plus a couple more in that game, and kept scoring as the season went on. You've also got Neil Jeffrey, who's this true pocket passer who leads the Big 12 in a bunch of stats that season. You don't necessarily think of the 70s as having a lot of pure pocket passers, but here we are. So here's we're setting the scene, right? It's 1974, Cotton Bowl on the line, conference championship on the line. Over 40,000 people show up to this game after a crazy rain-soaked day. Baylor scored twice in the first quarter. Gives up a score late in the first half. It seems like momentum's swinging the other way. And I'm reading from the newspaper here. I know it's not I do actually have a physical newspaper printout also, but it says, just as the momentum in the game appeared to turn around in SMU's direction, Baylor kicker Don Bockhorn kicked his prodigious field goal, which rode a 17-mile-an-hour wind just over the crossbar. This is a 59-yard field goal, by the way.
Nuts.
That's
nuts.
In rainy conditions in 1974. Grant Taft said after the game, he said, my offensive coaches nearly assassinated me on the sidelines because if it had been short, they had a scooter bug back there who could have run it back. So, they're taking shots. They're being a little aggressive here. And fortunately, he was not actually assassinated by his assistant coaches because, Bockhorn made the field goal. But we keep going, right? Offense is doing well. It says the burly 196-pound Baird bucked his way 133 yards and 26 carries against the thoroughly whipped Mustang defenders. So you want some words out there. We got burly.
Yeah.
We got thoroughly whipped. Stubby. First of all, I think 5'7" is a very normal height, maybe the best height. Many are saying this. So they're having success on defense. They're running a 9-man line. So they only have 2 defensive backs back there, no linebackers. They just got 9 guys, little wide 9 format out there. And they're really messing with the SMU offense. They can't get anything going. Baylor wins that game 31-14. And the SMU head coach after the game, he says, hey, I played Texas this year. I played Ohio State this year, which what a wild schedule for SMU in the 70s. None of them controlled the ball against us the way that Baylor did today. So after the game, Bears go into the locker room, and they've got a rallying cry. Sick 'em horns. Maybe the only time that's ever been said. But they say sick 'em horns because if Texas is able to beat Texas A&M, Baylor wins a solo conference championship, goes to the Cotton Bowl. Well, Texas A&M does what it typically does in big games. Lays an egg, lose 32-3 in Austin. Baylor, miracle on the Brazos, turns into a conference championship, first ever Cotton Bowl appearance. It all starts in 1974.
I love it. I love Miracle on the Brazos. I just think that's such a cool saying, and you see it everywhere now because vintage things are coming back, and so you see it all over shirts and whatever. And I was like, "What is Miracle on the Brazos? What are we talking about?" And how fun is it that we get to relive this? So SMU now playing. Grant Taft is just such a legend. We get to hear a little bit about how he speaks about JJ Joe further down the season. Really excited about that piece. But thanks, Jackson, for kind of taking us through that a little bit.
Yeah, it was great romping through history a little bit.
Romping through history, yes. And you had some more, maybe, about... Oh, no?
No, I think we're going to go to break.
Oh.
That's my vote.
Okay.
We're going to go to Craig James.
Yeah.
Conference was the conference in the country. It was all the great players in this area, the state, they stayed around. We went to Baylor or Tech or A&M, Texas, and so they weren't spread out all over the country. So you had a lot of really good football players. And for Baylor, And SMU, there was just this natural, I don't know if it was the religious schools or what it was, but they were really good in football, first of all. So we knew we had a challenge on our hands. And so the competitiveness, the familiarity of it, all of the fans, they were great games, hard hitting games. Mike Singletary was there the first 2 years we played against him. Thank goodness he moved on and graduated. That guy was a beast on the field. We used to be in the huddle, Pete, and truly, he was known, he would hyperventilate. He'd get so amped up in a game. So we're in the huddle one time, my freshman year, I think it is, and I see him go off the field. He had to go get his wind back. And then all of us in the huddle, only time in my history of playing football, we all said, 11 of us, hey, he's off the field.
And then you get to bump into him in the Super Bowl as well. So you couldn't dodge the guy.
He was he was relentless and a great player, especially tackle to tackle. You get outside the box, and that wasn't his specialty, but he was smart, tenacious, and he was old school.
What are some of your memories of that rivalry? Any specific memory you have? I mean, you mentioned that one, which was awesome, but on the field playing, because you did. I mean, I'm not blowing smoke. You had some really quality performances against Baylor, tackle to tackle.
Yeah, it was a physical game, and Eric and I, we knew when we played against Baylor that we were going to have to both do our thing. And many times on the sidelines, we'd come off the field against other opponents, and we'd say they're tired. We've got them beat down, and around the third quarter, and we start taking over. But against Baylor, they had depth as well as we had depth, and they were really good, well coached, and there was this natural competitiveness between us. And we thought we were better than them. They thought they were better than us. And so the stories in that game, I mean, the hard hits, man, they had some real. Eric hit one of their defensive backs one time so hard. I don't even know how the guy made it to the sidelines, but he went to the sidelines, and it just was a really competitive game.
I love that piece he talks about Mike Singletary a little bit. Just a Baylor legend. If you were at the game last week with him doing the intro video, correct, of him walking down the field, just his energy and just, Baylor's back. I loved it. Thoughts from our guy?
It would have been cool if they just cut to a clip of him just like hyperventilating on the field, like just having a good. I mean, maybe that's the move, right? He got a super oxygenated bloodstream, like full of energy, I'm sure. Like maybe that was a superpower. Yeah,
No, truly, that would have been sick. So thankful that we're able to talk about Craig James a little bit with the Pete Souza Show. When we come back, we will hear more of Bear Essentials with Matt Mosley, Scotty Swingler, and Terrence Ganaway. Scotty and Terrence host a podcast weekly, give their insights to Baylor football, Baylor athletics, all things Baylor. We get to hear from them a little bit when we come back.
Posey, and I'm a third-generation Baylor Bear. During my time playing baseball at Baylor, I started a hat company called Hondo, which started as meek and humble beginnings, has quickly grown into something more. Over 40,000 hats sold, and then over 100 retail locations nationwide. I love vintage Western hats, but couldn't stand the condition they came in, so I decided to make my own. Vintage style, but with modern aesthetics. Thank you so much for making my dream come true, and for enabling what was once a dream to become a reality. God bless.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast, coming to you from the Star in the players' meeting room with defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus.
You now have two responsibilities this year that you didn't have last year, and that's being a first-time head coach and calling plays for Dak Prescott for the first time. But now we're doing something that we do annually. We get Stephen Jones's perspective on this football team and how it was built and what expectations should be.
At Camp Info Waco, we believe fun is more fun outside. We also believe fun is more fun in the pool, by the water park, at your RV, in a cabin, and with the friends and family you love the most. So grab a drink, take a ride, and stay a while. We think you'll discover that fun is more fun outside, too.
Hey, what's up? My name's Scotty, and I used to host a Baylor football podcast called Please Bear With Me, and I'm so excited to finally let you know that we are so back, baby. Please Bear With Me is coming back not only as a podcast, but as a YouTube show on the Rogue Media Network.
We are Rogue Media Sports.
365 Sports Green and Gold Game Day is made possible in part by Ascension Providence here in Waco.
What are the bare essentials to Swingler back Green and Gold Game Day? It's bare essentials. And we are joined now by Baylor legend, the great running back, Terrence Ganaway. Terrence, great to have you. What are the bare essentials to beat these SMU Mustangs?
Scotty and Matt, thanks for having me. Really appreciate being on the show with you guys. I think the key essentials or the bare essentials for Baylor to win this game this week is to play sound, disciplined football. I know we talked about that earlier this week on the show. Please bear with me with you, Scotty. But if we don't play sound football, what's going to happen is what we've already been put on tape. Some teams are going to try to exploit those weaknesses. And I bet you SMU is going to do that. SMU has 3 running backs. They're going to get the ball, get carries this week. One's a transfer from University of Miami. Doesn't have, I don't believe he has over 100 carries in his career. Another one, TJ Harden. He doesn't have what you would really want to see out of a running back. But I mean, I think he's the most experienced running back on the team. He has 1,700 career yards. And then they got another guy with about 25 carries in his career. I think what SMU is going to try to do early is establish the run. And then depending on if these receivers will come back healthy, they're going to do some play action to get the ball out of Kevin Jennings' hands much more quicker. And he's going to have open windows if we cannot stop or slow down the run. Kevin Jennings is a great quarterback. He's going to be a little bit more mobile, more experienced in this offense. Last week, he didn't play a clean game. He had an interception in the red zone where it should have been a bad read, a bad throw, and a bad route combined together. And I think he's going to try to play a much cleaner game this week against Baylor, which he's going to have his options to move the ball around the field on this secondary, especially if we're getting man-to-man matchups and we're not able to drop in the zone because we have to pack the box. So defensively, we got to play sound football. Offensively, I think it's very simple. You have to go to the well. And at the well, there's a bell cow. It goes by the name of Bryson Washington. He is the guy that you're going to have to ride this entire game and this entire season, matter of fact, to be competitive in the Big 12. If you want to win on the road, you have to bring a good defense and you have to bring a running game. If Baylor doesn't establish the running game, and that includes getting Sawyer Robinson's feet wet and running the ball. I'm not saying he has to carry 10 plus times a game, but we need to at least have him as an option to take the pressure off Bryson, especially if defenses give us light boxes. We have to take advantage of them, and then we have to beat them on the run. Knighton is going to get some burn, so I expect him to get 10 plus carries this week, put his head downfield, and be able to electrify this offense. Also running the ball to keep the defense off the field. If we can extend drives, run the play clock, that gives our defense a little bit more time to understand what SMU is trying to do and combat it late in the game. I know, Scotty, you are very high. Everyone I talk to, Sawyer Robinson, top in the country, top this, top that. I think he had a great season last year. I think he showed us what he could be at his best. We need him to prove that he can be at his best week in and week out. And although he played a very clean game last week, I don't think he would say himself that it was an A-plus game. I'm not going to give grades here, but Sawyer knows what he has to do for Baylor to be successful this year. And it's going to be a lot better than what we saw from him last week. Mobilizing him, I think, allows him to calm his nerves. I hope he's healthy. I pray he's healthy, because if we don't have a healthy quarterback, it makes it harder to do anything I just talked about before. And then lastly, special teams, we have to tackle, we have to pursue, and we have to get downhill. If we can't punt the ball and flip field positions, we're on the road. We're in a hostile environment. SMU's 90 minutes from Baylor. I would assume there's a lot of people coming up from Waco, if not a lot of people already in Dallas that's going to drive over to see this game. So one of the things we have to do is bring some energy. And I'm telling you, what is very deflating to a team on the road is having big returns. And I remember my first game starting in 2011, DJ Jones had a big kickoff return, and I ran up to Coach Browse and said, give me the ball. I was wanting to tote that thing. And they gave it to me 2 times in a row. And the next thing you know, they faked a play action to me and threw it to Jordan Narvar for a touchdown. That's the type of energy you can get when you're a home team and the special teams is not good. Finally, I like to talk about what Baylor is going to see from SMU from a strategy perspective. They're going to try to impose their will and keep their hands closed. I don't think Baylor's a team where you have to open up the playbook on. I think you're going to get back to your basics and you're going to try to see how good your team is.
All right, good stuff there from Terrence Ganaway. You know, when I hear him, Scotty, talk about a running back and how they need to approach things, I mean, he speaks with great conviction. And he was talking about Knighton. That there was some runs early in that game against Auburn where you're like, whoa, look at that. He bounced one outside. And kind of like Dave Aranda said after that game, it was kind of like he had some success with that, and it got in his mind, let's keep popping it out here. Let's keep taking the ball out here. And I think the Bears, while you can always look to do that if you need to, hopefully they can open up some holes where the plays are called. And, whether or not they win or lose this game, and I certainly hope they win this game. But Bryson Washington, Scotty, cannot come out of this game with 50-something yards. If he does, then that means the other running back needs to have had like 100 or Sawyer runs for something, almost like what the quarterback did, Jackson Arnold from Auburn. I mean, you have to find it elsewhere. But I would say Bryson, I think it's going to be a shootout. I really do. But,
Yeah.
boy, I like what he's saying about – I like what Terrence is saying about you have got to have that running game going to control clock, keep the defense off the field. I think it's going to be extremely important in this game.
Absolutely. And we heard Craig James say it earlier in the broadcast, right? Like football still, despite the glitz and glam, comes down to line play, running the football, and tackling. And we saw that last week, right? Sawyer Robertson led college football in passing last week. Didn't matter. Baylor couldn't run the ball, and Auburn ran the ball down Baylor's throat at will. So I resonate with what you said, with what Terrence said. And Bryson Washington was my biggest surprise out of the Auburn game, that he wasn't more involved. And I know some of that was that just the dominance of Auburn's defensive front. And I know Baylor tried to get Bryson involved with some swing passes, and there were some missed throws there, to be honest, right? But yes, you have to establish Bryson Washington. I mean, Baylor's 6-game win streak at the end of the season last year correlates directly not only with Sawyer Robertson finding his mojo, but with Bryson Washington establishing himself as arguably, a top 2 or 3 back in the Big 12, in a Big 12 that had, I think, like 5 running backs just drafted this past, April. So he is pivotal. The other key to this game that Terrence said, and it's obvious, but it's not a given that it will happen. You have to tackle. Right? Missed tackles was the other story of the game last week for me. And for Dave Aranda, the defensive guru, it's 101. It's the first thing you learn if you're going to play the defensive side of the ball, is how to wrap and drive someone to the ground as a defender. And Baylor couldn't do it last week. Kevin Jennings is dangerous with his legs. And despite what Terrence just pointed out about SMU's running back room maybe not being very experienced or very impressive yet, doesn't matter if you can't bring him to the ground. And so I really want to see Baylor establish the run on one side and then just tackle on the other side. SMU's going to score. Rhett Lashley is a great offensive coach, just like Jake Spavital is. But you've got to make the play when it's there. And that was the thing last week. It's not only that Baylor missed on some plays on some defense, they also did not make the plays that were right in front of them. And so can you do enough of that today? Because I do think it's going to be a shootout. So can you make enough tackles and big stops that your offense, which I trust is going to play well today, can stay ahead?
Tackling, huge issue in that game. The inability to contain the quarterback. And even when you got some pressure, it was really demoralizing to watch him break contain and know that once he cut back, no one was over there to protect that side of the field.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm hoping. And whether he's at the star position or wherever he's lining up, there has been a thought that Carl Williams has been back at practice and he would return. There's a air of confidence with that young man. And while Tevin and Devin and, talking about Devin Bobby and Tevin Williams, I mean, you've got some veteran leadership back there. You may have your best ability with Carl. You may have some of your best NFL type level ability. And so I'm really hoping his return adds something to this defense. And then also that knowing he's back there and knowing these linebackers are ready to support you, I'm hoping from a discipline and run fit standpoint, that these defensive linemen can have a better effort. And it does not sound like Jackie Marshall's with a high ankle sprain is going to be able to go. Sorely missed. But again, that's why you bring in depth. That's why you go get somebody from Tulane. That's why you continue to get bodies there and you get young players. And, it's like, isn't it weird how sometimes the whole offseason you're like, oh, what about this guy? Tazino, what about this guy? You hear all these names, and you're like, this guy's going to be good this year. Kalu's another one. His dad, I covered him when he played for the Texans. His dad played at Rice, old SWC opponent. And all we read going into the season, like, hey, man, he's ready. He's a starter. They need to make plays up front, and they need to be disruptive. And if Jennings is going to scramble, he's got to feel it. To me, really, Scotty, this really comes down to physicality. Like, who's the most physical team? Last week it was obviously Auburn. It would be embarrassing to allow it to be SMU and to 2 weeks in a row get manhandled. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think that's a huge part of what probably the violence and the physicality is probably what Dave Aranda has been stressing.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. The SEC thing, the physical thing proved to be true. But you should not get out physical by SMU at this point, not even with a playoff team coming back. It's unacceptable. It was unacceptable last week. It would certainly be unacceptable this week. If your key is the defensive line, creating pressure and being physical, here's my other one. You got to force some turnovers. You have to. You did not force Jackson Arnold to turn the ball over last week, despite being a very turnover-prone quarterback. Guess what? Kevin Jennings is also a super dynamic quarterback who turns the ball over. He had 2 turnovers last week against East Texas A&M, and I'm not hating on East Texas A&M, but that's unacceptable for a playoff quarterback in my mind. And so if you're Baylor, you have to get a couple of takeaways. And in a shootout, which I expect this game to be, I expect both offenses to play fairly well. The difference could be an interception, dare I say a pick six, a fumble, forcing a turnover could make the difference for Baylor today. Anything else, Matt?
I'm good. Run your own quarterback. If Sawyer's not hurt, run him in this game. My gosh, it's a huge weapon, so use it.
365 Sports Green and Gold Game Day Show. Thank you so much to KWTX for having us today. Thank you to Jackson Posey for joining me today. If you want to keep watching please do make sure you go to our Green and Gold Game Day YouTube. If you want to know the answer to that second hour poll, make sure you stay tuned and watch on our YouTube channel. KWTX, thank you so much for having us. Thank you for watching today. We are so excited, and we will see you next week.
365 Sports Green and Gold Game Day is made possible in part by Ascension Providence here in Waco.
At Camp Info Waco, we believe fun is more fun outside. We also believe fun is more fun in the pool, by the water park, at your RV, in a cabin, and with the friends and family you love the most. So grab a drink, take a ride, and stay a while. We think you'll discover that fun is more fun outside, too.
I'm Cole Posey, and I'm a third-generation Baylor Bear. During my time playing baseball at Baylor, I started a hat company called Hondo, which started as meek and humble beginnings, has quickly grown into something more. Over 40,000 hats sold, and then over 100 retail locations nationwide. I love vintage Western hats, but couldn't stand the condition they came in, so I decided to make my own. Vintage style, but with modern aesthetics. Thank you so much for making my dream come true, and for enabling what was once a dream to become a reality. God bless.
I mean, yeah, a new coach comes in, they're going to turn the roster. I think that's just we've got all these transfer portal stats and what Dion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
Look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
Welcome back into the Green and Gold Game Day show. I'm Jackson Posey with Faith Lynch. I want to say thank you to Brazos Landing for supporting the show. I mean, that's the spot to eat. Faith, do you ever eat food?
I do. Yes.
Do it at Brazos Landing. That's the spot to go. Also, thank you to Grateful 365 for the super chat.
Yeah.
We're grateful for you, and also we are 365. So I mean, great camaraderie going on here between all of us.
That's awesome. Okay, we are here, guys. I thought KWTX went super well. Thank you for joining us back over on our YouTube channel. Pumped you're here. We are now going to talk about our Bear Essentials and some of our keys to the game. Jackson, kick us off.
To me, the number one thing is you just have to stop the run.
Yeah.
I mean, specifically the run up the middle. I'm a little worried about the guys on the outside, Chris Johnson Jr. especially, but if you can stay firm in the middle, I think the back end has some talent. The linebacking core has some talent when they're able to shoot gaps well. So if they're not overshooting like they were last week, stop the run up the middle. Whoever's playing nose tackle, whether that's DK Kalu or Samu Tamanu Pepe, whoever that is, stop the run up the middle. Everything else will fall into place.
I agree. Let's see Sawyer use his legs a little bit too. Let's run him. I think you kind of have to do that to combat what happened last week, but also this week. You should not be able to run all over Baylor this week like Auburn did last week. I think going to week practice, having a better established defense, and having Sawyer a little bit more mobile should be good for this week.
Yeah, look, I would be concerned though, Dave Aranda talked about, hey, we need to improve tackling this week. And that's not really a thing that you just improve in a week of practice. I think about the USC teams from recent years where, okay, we want to protect the offense. We're this high-flying, scoring team. This is what we want to do. We want to protect Caleb Williams or whoever's the quarterback at the time. And so they don't really tackle in practice. They play a little – I mean, I don't want to say they play soft because it's not like they're fake tackling. They're just avoiding that contact altogether. And because of that, you get to the season, and your offensive guys are healthy, but you can't tackle worth a lick. And I don't know that Baylor's tackling problems were as bad as USC's have been in recent years, but I am a little concerned of if you were practicing in any way similarly to this, that's not how Baylor's practiced since, the mid-2010s. And that's not something you can just fix in a week.
I agree. I think to your point, a couple of moments earlier of SMU being older in that starting defensive line of having 4-year guys, having 4.5-year guys. Baylor doesn't really have a whole lot of that. You see a lot of younger guys being fresh. We would love to see Jackie Marshall out there today. Who knows? He's questionable. Is that still what's up in the air? He's questionable to
right
return?
now, questionable, high ankle sprain. And we'll see. I mean, that's not a position you want to play with a high ankle sprain when you're driving in the trenches, but you can't really play without him either.
No, I agree. And we saw that last week. So I'd love to see improvement there. Talk about a little bit, what do you think you're going to see from SMU offensively that maybe deferred from last week?
Yeah, I think this is the week when they finally pick a running back. I think a lot of the delay on choosing running back was, hey, we don't want to show our hand, let Baylor know, because it's East Texas A&M. I mean, what are you really going to do here? And so, yeah, as we mentioned earlier, they've got 3 guys. They've got a transfer from UCLA named TJ Harden, who's kind of your, Rex Burkhead. I'm going to catch the ball out of the backfield, but also like a bigger guy. He's about 6'2", 220 as a receiving back. So interesting vibes there. He's the most experienced guy in the other room. In the room, the other 2 guys have a combined career less than 300 yards rushing.
Yeah.
One of those is Derek McFall, who's an SMU guy, former 4-star out of Tyler High School. He's got a lot of talent. And then you also have Chris Johnson Jr., Miami transfer, former Florida State track champion, ran a 10.45 100-meter dash as a junior in high school. That's your burner. He's the only one that scored a touchdown last week. I think this is the week when you pick one.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm guessing that's Derek McFall, but none of them even hit 45 yards on the ground last week. So I think they pick one there. And a little concerned about the passing game for them also because Jordan Hudson, their leading receiver from last year, is out with an elbow injury. So they're going to have to lean a little more on that running game than I think they would like to at this point in the season.
Yeah, I agree. I'd love to see a little bit more from Bryson Washington. I think giving him the ball, giving him a little bit more security would be well. Obviously, having Dawson Pendergrass out for the year is a bit of a hurt to the Baylor Hearts and to their offense. But I think instilling that confidence in Bryson of like, hey, we want you to be that guy all the time. But then, like I said earlier, I'd love to see some more Josh Cameron in there and see what he can do for us.
Yeah, I mean, those are the 2 best players you have as skill position threats, right? Yeah. You go to Bryson Washington early and often. It's a little more early than often, right? Mm-hmm. It's 15 carries for 54 yards, couple catches for a couple of yards, and that's about it. Because as the game goes on, you're playing from behind, you're trying to catch up, and ultimately Auburn was just winning in the trenches. Like there was no room for Bryson Washington to operate against this SMU team. I think you get a different perspective on that. SMU loses as a roster most of their top interior. Front 7 guys. They lose Elijah Roberts and Jared Harrison Hunt. That's an all ACC first teamer and another guy who had 7.5 sacks. You lose your top 2 linebackers. You lose a couple of multi-year starters at cornerback. They're really having to reload here. And my assumption is, given what we saw at Baylor in week 1, you see a lot of focus on, hey, we're going to play back. We're going to try and avoid the big plays. Don't let Cole Wilson get open. Don't let Michael Trigg catch 10 passes over the middle. And as you start sinking further and further back, you get room for Bryson Washington to start running. You get room for Sawyer Robertson to scramble a little bit. And that's where I think you can really start to get the offense going if you can get that consistent traction.
I agree. And those 2 guys know Baylor. They know Baylor football. They know what it takes. They've been here. They understand Dave Aranda. They understand Sawyer Robertson. They understand Spavital. Like they get Baylor football. And so I just think from a leadership standpoint from those guys too, instilling confidence in them from a teammate perspective, I think it's difficult to see you have a big loss against SEC, Auburn, whatever. You don't want to feed into what other people are saying on social media. Like, oh, here we go again, having to dig yourself out of this hole like we did last season, So being able to have guys that know what Baylor looks like, okay, we're going to dig ourselves out of the trenches. We've been here before. We're going to stay true, keep our heads straight and not look at social media. I think giving them more opportunities and allowing to see what they can do just provides comfort, in those big stages. Haven't played at SMU in ever really. So playing in a different environment, I think is going to be good. Having those 2 guys just hold down the fort for them.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Baylor last season get punched in the mouth early on. They go 2-4 in the first 6 games. It sort of looks like, it's coaching staff kind of on the verge of something happening here. Yeah. And they turn around, they win 6 straight games. They're competitive in the bowl game, even despite some injuries to Washington and some others. This is a team that's shown the ability to take a hit and to come back from it. Now, does it happen this quickly? Does it happen right now against SMU? That's yet to be seen. Yeah. But this team does not strike me as one that is so taken aback, so put on the back foot by week 1 that they're not able to put it back in gear for week 2.
I agree. We'll hear from Matt Mosley soon. He'll be checking in from SMU for us. Excited to see what he has to say and what the crowd and stadium or that tailgate feels like. But let me ask you this. Do you think this puts Coach Aranda in an awkward position if, these first 4 games don't go well again?
Yeah, I would. If the first 4 games don't go well, that might be a loss to Samford. And then, yes, that would be quite an awkward position. The concern that I have is the ceiling of this team just 8-4, like last season, where you lose to the 4 good teams, right? You lose to Auburn, SMU, Arizona State, and then later on Utah, very similar to Auburn. So keep an eye out for that. Could be concerning. But if you lose those 4 games, none of the others are really that concerning to me. TCU's talented. That's always going to be a coin flip, though, because the whole rivalry thing outside of that, I think Baylor should be favored in every game that it plays, regardless of the outcome of this one. And so is it just a sort of, we're going 8-4, we're making a bowl game. And does that feel like, I mean, I don't think the coaching staff would get fired after going 8-4 for a second consecutive season, for the record. But it would sort of put things in an interesting spot where, are you winning the games you're supposed to win and not winning the games you're not supposed to win? What does the upside become if that's sort of the place that you settle at as a program?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think I agree with you saying 8-4, you're not going to lose your job. I don't think so. I think he brings more to the program than just football knowledge that a lot of Baylor people, Mac Rhodes, everyone is buying into. So I think for that reason he stays. Yeah, I think you have to put a little bit more trust into your players. So like, hey, you've been here, you understand what this looks like. We want to break past that 8-4 and not get complacent. I think that's the culture of Baylor football. But when we come back, we will hear from Matt Mosley. He will be checking in from SMU. Excited to see what he has to say. And we will talk more about our poll fan vote when we come back. Welcome back to Dear Sports. I am so pumped to be back in the podcast world and filming season 2 of Dear Sports. On this podcast, you're going to find stories from former and current athletes about their journey through sports and the impact it has made in their life. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow our Instagram and Twitter to stay updated on all things Dear Sports.
At Hellberg, we've received accolades for our barbecue, but my real passion is in cultivating world-class culinary experiences that bring people together. We would love to cater your next event. You receive a fully personalized experience complete with a custom menu that's sure to impress your guests. And even though we're known for our barbecue, it goes way beyond that. We've done everything from box lunches to grilled oysters and whole roasted pigs. Basically, if you can dream it, we can do it. This is at the heart of what we do. This is Hellberg.
365 Sports Green and Gold Game Day is made possible in part by Ascension Providence here in Waco.
At Camp Info Waco, we believe fun is more fun outside. We also believe fun is more fun in the pool, by the water park, at your RV, in a cabin, and with the friends and family you love the most. So grab a drink, take a ride, and stay a while. We think you'll discover that fun is more fun outside, too.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast, coming to you from the Star in the players' meeting room with defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus.
You now have two responsibilities this year that you didn't have last year, and that's being a first-time head coach and calling plays for Dak Prescott for the first time. But now we're doing something that we do annually. We get Stephen Jones's perspective on this football team and how it was built and what expectations should be.
Falconberry Construction is now Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath. Check out gathercoremodeling.com. Thanks so much for sponsoring Green and Gold Game Day.
Welcome back to 365 Sports Green and Gold Game Day Show. We have Matt Mosley on the phone. Matt, how are you? Give us a feel for what's going on.
Hey, I just, right as we were coming on, said hello to Mac Rhodes. President Livingstone has just made her way down Jerry Hill, promenading around the press box. So we're getting ready for kickoff here, and I was a little, I think I heard some like the Doomsday podcast going for a second. I got real excited. So we got all kinds of stuff happening, but we are, fans are starting to spill in here. I would say the SMU crowd loves their party on the boulevard. Their whole tailgate scene. It's a good one. But I'm hoping for a hi. How are you? I'm everybody coming by saying hello. Of course, I put myself right in a very public spot in the press box. But it's been fun getting ready for a kickoff, and it was fun to have somewhat of a home game today to roll out of bed and then be right there for SMU and Baylor, and it just brings back like a ton of memories. So yeah, guys, I'm excited, and the Bears look good. I think they did have to change their strategy a little bit already this week. They were at one point they were going to go with all whites, which would have looked cool, but this is a grass field. It's a tad bit muddy, and so I think those white pants would have been pretty much dark after the game. So the Bears have gone to the green pants instead and the white shirts.
Nice. I have Jackson Posey here with me in the studio, and he's also repping your sunglasses to make sure your spirit is here with us. But you said home game for you. Give us a crowd check. Does it feel like there's a lot of green and gold there? Did we represent well?
And I'm glad Jackson is paying homage to me. Or he could be mocking me, but either way, I'm fine with.
Flattery,
Yeah. It's very Jack. People are like, man, it's a good look for Jackson. It's a good Mosley look, except he's a little bit thinner. There's a little he can't really reenact the real Mosley in that respect. But from a crowd perspective, the Bears are now again. I kind of agree with what Dave Aranda said. It would have been a bigger Baylor gathering. By the way, 10 minutes ago, I was on the field, and I thought about doing this from the field, but the music's kind of overpowering, so I thought it would be better to run back up here to the press box. But I would say, Baylor folks are it's weird because there are so many people that either have Baylor and SMU in their families, or I think friends have come to the game together, which I never think is a great idea. Like, I never would sit with UT people or my friends from other schools like Tech. I never liked that. Okay. That it seems like in theory a good idea, but I don't think it works out. But there's a lot of that going on. So it's going to be an interesting crowd, because instead of the usual on a road game, here's our Baylor section, the Baylor people will be sprinkled throughout the stadium. So this is going to be a full house today. I think this place holds about 40, 45. I think total. I think the biggest they could get in here is probably about 40. I don't know. You'll have the numbers, 43 or 45. And I bet it is. I bet the Bears get 5 to 7,000, 5,000 in here. Let's say.
Matt, I've been told repeatedly by all the women in my life that I'm not cool enough to wear sunglasses inside. But Gandhi told me to be the change I want to see in the world, and so I'm proud to be rocking the shades in your honor. Question: This is a game that, in many ways, SMU is expected to run the ball a lot, right? Given the way the Baylor's run defense looked last week. But you're there, you can see the conditions. You mentioned the field was muddy. What are we looking like in terms of like the climate around the game? Are both teams going to be able to play up with the conditions of the field?
I'm glad you asked, Jackson, because I was down there like around the 5-yard line, and I don't know. There's certain parts of the field that are already, just because of warm-ups, are looking a little chunky, and I think you got to have the right cleats. I was also keeping my eye out for Jackie Marshall. I was down there, all the skill players came out, but there's a belief that, he was going to try to give it a go and tough it out today. So, just his presence alone, I think they had to play some players way longer than they wanted to last week. And some guys got in Jackson, kind of who I'm talking about. There was one guy got like over 30 snaps, and they can't have that. I think Dave Aranda will do anything today before he allows somebody to run all over him again. I'm not saying Jennings can't run. Okay, he obviously can, but I promise you will have a much better approach when it comes to trying to stop the run. And I think this is going to be a whole different. I think this is going to be a whole different animal in the way they approach it. I'm sorry, we had a little Methodist prayer going. I kind of had to start speaking in hushed tones. I mean, I don't know what a difference in a Methodist and a Baptist prayer, but I felt like that was I heard a Methodist prayer in the background, so I decided to honor it a little bit. But I can go back to a normal level here, guys. And everybody's been. I saw Faith online. I saw Faith on social media put out some stuff. Jackson, I've been watching you, and so it's really cool what y'all done today. And a lot of people here are kind of asking about the show. And in fact, somebody just came up to me, some longtime media member, and was praising what y'all are doing. So anyway, keep it up, man. It's fun to be with you. Hey, one more thing. I kind of was watching Sawyer when he came out, and Cole Wilson and all. And I know this will be interesting. There was a look from Sawyer that was just it was a little different. Like there's like an intensity level. I think Baylor was embarrassed. I think a lot of people thought they were going to come out and perform extremely well against Auburn. It didn't happen. And I think there's a lot of pride factor that has to kick in today. And I think they feel like they're about to do something. And let me give you the most optimistic thought I've had as I was standing down there observing some things. This kind of feels to me like when they went to Lubbock last year. The weather kind of looks like it. It's kind of hazy. It's a little messy down there. I don't think there's going to be much rain, but it's still wet. The field's just kind of mucky to me. I kind of sense the Bears are going to come out and throw a big time haymaker early in this game. We'll see how the Mustangs respond.
Oh, that's awesome, Matt. When you find out the difference between that Baptist and Methodist prayer, let me know. But yeah, I'm excited. I think that fires me up that Sawyer just looks different. I love you can see a different look in his eye. And thanks for the Jackie update. Keep us updated on what you see there. Matt, thanks so much for joining. Glad you're SMU. Enjoy. When we come back from break, you'll hear Jackson and I's picks of the game and who we think's going to win this Baylor SMU battle when we come back. Welcome back to Dear Sports. I am so pumped to be back in the podcast world and filming season 2 of Dear Sports. On this podcast, you're going to find stories from former and current athletes about their journey through sports and the impact it has made in their life. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow our Instagram and Twitter to stay updated on all things Dear Sports.
At Hellberg, we've received accolades for our barbecue, but my real passion is in cultivating world-class culinary experiences that bring people together. We would love to cater your next event. You receive a fully personalized experience complete with a custom menu that's sure to impress your guests. And even though we're known for our barbecue, it goes way beyond that. We've done everything from box lunches to grilled oysters and whole roasted pigs. Basically, if you can dream it, we can do it. This is at the heart of what we do. This is Hellberg.
365 Sports Green and Gold Game Day is made possible in part by Ascension Providence here in Waco.
At Camp Info Waco, we believe fun is more fun outside. We also believe fun is more fun in the pool, by the water park, at your RV, in a cabin, and with the friends and family you love the most. So grab a drink, take a ride, and stay a while. We think you'll discover that fun is more fun outside, too.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast, coming to you from the Star in the players' meeting room with defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus.
You now have two responsibilities this year that you didn't have last year, and that's being a first-time head coach and calling plays for Dak Prescott for the first time. But now we're doing something that we do annually. We get Stephen Jones's perspective on this football team and how it was built and what expectations should be.
Welcome back to the 365 Sports Green and Gold Game Day Show. I am here with Jackson Posey, and we are wrapping up our final few minutes. But first, let's check in with our fan poll and see how we're doing with some answers. Coming soon. Oh, here we go. Okay. Baylor wins close. Okay.
So it's going to be a competitive game.
It's going to be a competitive game.
The viewers of this show know ball. So I'm putting my faith in y'all. Baylor wins close. That's a plurality right there.
That is. No, I'm great with that. I'm glad we're all on the same team here. We're all understanding what needs to be done. But before we run out of time, want to get to it. Give our predictions and just thank you to everyone for interacting with our polls today. I think that was great. First time doing live poll. Perfect, guys. Great execution. Great teamwork there. Giving our predictions. Yeah, I think Baylor's going to win close. Would love to see SMU compete. I think when the College Football Playoff Committee they're hopefully watching, right? I would assume they watch these games now. Just staying close, following them, staying on SMU. I'd love to see it be a competitive game. Baylor wins close. I'm going to stick with Fox's prediction. I'm not going to be creative and give my own score predictions today. But I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to do Baylor 33, SMU 27. I think it's going to be a close game. With the field conditions, I'm curious to see how well we run the ball if defense shows up today, as Matt was saying. But that's going to be my final prediction. Jackson?
Faith, the scriptures say that the sun rises with its scorching heat, and the flower falls, and the rich man fades away in the midst of his pursuits. And so I'm thinking the sun rises with its scorching heat. I think the clouds roll away. The field starts drying up a little bit by the fourth quarter. But in honor of Lee Corso,
yes,
who retired last week,
yes,
I would like to officially make my pick here. Not that one. Give me the Bears in a fun shootout in SMU. Yes. I think the flower falls from the College Football Playoff team. I think the sun rises, scorches Rhett Lashley's team out there, and I think the rich man fades into the background of a 1-1 record. Give me the Bears, 36-33.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Jackson, thanks for bringing some excitement, bringing the chrome helmet, joining us on this early Saturday morning. Thank you to our sponsors for staying engaged with us, supporting us, just wanting to be part of this journey with us as well. Thank you to our crew, to everyone working so hard. Guys are in the AC this week. It works so well. Happy to be here. Let's go watch some football. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next week. I am Faith Lynch, Jackson Posey, and Sick 'em Bears.
Sick 'em Bears.
to Dear Sports. I am so pumped to be back in the podcast world and filming season 2 of Dear Sports. On this podcast, you're going to find stories from former and current athletes about their journey through sports and the impact it has made in their life. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow our Instagram and Twitter to stay updated on all things Dear Sports.
At Hellberg, we've received accolades for our barbecue, but my real passion is in cultivating world-class culinary experiences that bring people together. We would love to cater your next event. You receive a fully personalized experience complete with a custom menu that's sure to impress your guests. And even though we're known for our barbecue, it goes way beyond that. We've done everything from box lunches to grilled oysters and whole roasted pigs. Basically, if you can dream it, we can do it. This is at the heart of what we do. This is Hellberg.
365 Sports Green and Gold Game Day is made possible in part by Ascension Providence here in Waco.
At Camp Info Waco, we believe fun is more fun outside. We also believe fun is more fun in the pool, by the water park, at your RV, in a cabin, and with the friends and family you love the most. So grab a drink, take a ride, and stay a while. We think you'll discover that fun is more fun outside, too.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast, coming to you from the Star in the players' meeting room with defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus.
You now have two responsibilities this year that you didn't have last year, and that's being a first-time head coach and calling plays for Dak Prescott for the first time. But now we're doing something that we do annually. We get Stephen Jones's perspective on this football team and how it was built and what expectations should be.